Good day. I would like to introduce myself as Dorothy Hodgkins. As a devoted chemist and biologist in the field of sciences, I am employed to discuss with you the negative impact of farm salmon. I first met the subject of farm salmon when traveling to the US. I was captivated by the effects it had on our molecular makeup and the physical demands of our bodies, the containment of which the breeding of the species took place, and the habitual instinct of the species, and interbreeding with that of its wild counterparts. Now, farm salmon has a vastly detrimental effect on our mental and physical state. Now, when farmed salmon is bred, it tends to have abundant populations of sea lice. In order to control this population, one must find a treatment. Such a treatment, in this case, is a chemical called emamectin benzoate, also known as slice. Now, in the chemist world, we all know this as a major pesticide, but since the chemical is applied to the fish's feed, it is now labeled as a drug. When I looked further into the increasingly maddening subject of farm salmon, I found because the flesh of farmed salmon resembles that of pepsin crystal hues, of which I have seen in labs, colorless, one must inject dye into the flesh of the salmon to give the impression of the wild species flesh, a red tone. Now, these chemicals bind with the fat cells of salmon, which in turn, as humans, we consume, which in turn these chemicals combine with our cells. Now, such chemicals in the body can have negative impressions on our brain development, immune system function, and has also been known to cause autism in children. Now, the containment of the farm species has even brought me more discontentment. Containment includes that of a netted pen in which the ocean water is free to flow through. The byproducts of such chemicals we have discussed are then allowed to be passed out into the open ocean or dropped to the ocean's bottom, which in turn can be fed upon by nature's vast majority of other creatures. A chemical such as splice, when consumed by crustaceans, has been known to break down the species' exoskeleton, thus killing the species, lowering the species' population count. Danger to other mammalian ocean species has also been recorded. When species are drawn to these pins, such as seals, sea lions, or porpoise, the species can get caught, thus sometimes drowning, thus sometimes tearing holes in the netting, releasing the farmed salmon into the wild. This brings me to my last point in my research. When the farmed species breaks free from the nets or the pins, they have been found to breed with wild species, passing on their genetic makeup, disrupting the natural breeding cycle of wild salmon, and causing the wild species to not reoccur to their original spawning points. Aggressive behavior and expeditious growth rate has also been found in the farmed species. It has been found to be greater than that of the wild species, causing the farmed species to become the more dominant competitor for food and territory. Disruptions of such natural instincts in the wild species populations can cause a major decline in spawning due to adaptation issues, causing our wild salmon populations to reach a point of extinction. My breath is quite taken away with the succession of impressions that such an industry could exist. The negative repercussion of such a breeding will continue to affect our physical and mental well-being, our ocean systems, and our wild salmon populations, unless we stand against the biological tragedy of farmed salmon.